Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Back at the very start of the holidays, in fact, the first Saturday in December, Oak Park has this thing in the downtown area on Marion Street and Lake Street, which is kind of the main drag. They do a cookie walk. So people go down there and you have to pay to buy an empty tin. And then you go around to all the businesses, and there are cookies that they give out for the kids. It's a nice time. They have music, they have carolers, they have some musicians. And so I went down there and I was taking some photographs and people enjoying themselves. And then I heard this violin, and I thought, whoa, that guy sounds pretty good. So I kind of turned around from where I was, walked back up the street, and I found this guy ripping on a fiddle. And I have I was just using the internal mic on my G9, but I did have my Azden SMX-10 stereo mic, which I don't use for this sort of thing, but I do like when I'm out videoing because you can it is still a directional mic, but it is stereo. So that's pretty cool. So he sees me. He sees the stereo mic, and he's like, oh, that's cool. So we ended up talking. Turns out the guy's name is Lappy Zuli. He is not only a violinist, he is a model and an actor. So we worked out a thing. He's going to do some modeling for me, and I did a promo video for him. And I had my friend and mentor, Howard Simmons, came along, and he took some behind-the-scenes photos, and we did a little promo video for Lappy. And Lappy Zuli, that comes from his birthstone, lapis lazuli, which people know is a very deep blue, semi-precious stone. Interestingly, lazuli and azure share the same root, so deep blue, azure and lazuli. But have a look at the promo video. I'll be back with some further thoughts, lessons learned, and so on. Oh, should mention, besides using the SMX-10 mic, I also use the G9 and the 12 to 35 millimeter lens. Let's take a look at the video.
Playing by ear. So I wanted to, play like the big symphonies, but I couldn't play them. I didn't know all the techniques, so I ended up improvising and making my own symphonies. And people think that they're actually real songs. They think that like Mozart or Bach. Somebody told me Brandenburg, which is one of the most prestigious, or Paganini. This is Mongolian horsehair. It's black and it's thicker. It's better for fiddling like this.
Well, Epi was really happy with that video, and I should mention we also did a vertical video on my iPhone to use like for shorts and for reels, as well as some stills which you saw in the video. And for the most part, I was pretty happy. I always look at what I'm doing and see things that I could do better. So one thing, and I always try to remember to do this, is, that somebody's moving around that much. And I think that's probably true with any autofocus system. I mean, some are better than others. Admittedly, the G9 is not as good as those with phase detect, but still pretty darn good now with the firmware updates. But I try to remember to turn it off to manual focus, and I didn't do that. So you might have seen a little bit of focus wobble in a few places. But when somebody's moving around like that, that's going to happen. The best thing to do is to get things dialed in with focus, and then turn it to manual, so you're fixed. And just rely on depth of field to keep things in focus. So if you're shooting full frame, you make sure you're stopped to down to where you have enough depth of focus to keep depth of field to keep the face in focus. The other thing is, I'm telling you, the IS lock feature in Lumix cameras that the G9 has, and the G95 has it as well. I mean, it's like you're on a tripod, and when you're shooting handheld. So that's a feature that I think is totally worth having a Lumix camera for if you're doing video, because it's pretty amazing. We did have some lighting, but you might have seen in one of the behind-the-scenes photos, there's just a couple of Ulanzi VL49s, which are what I use for the background color lights here. Really, on that day, they weren't actually necessary because it didn't really make much of a difference. In the future, I have this really old CN160. You can tell this is an old one because the LEDs actually had kind of a cyan cast with them. This is probably, I think I got this 10 years ago. So when you bought them back in those days, they came with a magenta filter to try and get rid of the cyan cast. So you might even be able to see it. Even with a magenta filter, it's hard to match to existing lights. But if it's your only light, it'll work fine. So yeah, and I think doing collaborations when it makes sense is a good idea. If you know somebody who is doing something that's interesting and you can help each other, why not do that? So, but I think you do need to be selective, but if it makes sense, you should do it. Anyway, that's it for now. If you have any comments, questions, pop them into the comments. If you like this video, hit the like button. And I'd like to thank all my latest subscribers. Really appreciate your subscription. I'm Todd Banner, and I will see you next time.